Hey y'all, it's me. I have already said before that I've been feeling really unmotivated to really invest deeply in this next election cycle. I just am tired of politics. I'm tired of it dominating my life, but I recognize that 2020 is a big year. There's going to be an election, whether or not I'm deeply invested. So I need to get my shit together and pay attention. And I have this platform. So it is my responsibility to use this platform in a way that supports the things that I care about. And obviously, I care about people earning a living wage and not going bankrupt to afford health care and women's reproductive health. So I have to care about the election. I genuinely believe that Donald Trump is going to win, but we all have a responsibility to tune in. So I decided to watch the Democratic presidential debate. And I forced myself to do that by saying, oh, you'll just make content about it. Okay, so that's why I'm here. I have notes. My primary note is it is astonishing to me that Joe Biden is ahead in the polls and like by a significant margin. In most of the polls we have, he is solidly out front. There is no way that you can watch those debates or hear about his consistent gaffes or missteps or public misrememberings and think that he is in a good place, in a good mental place where he would be fit to be president. He's just not there. It was so evident multiple times tonight that Joe Biden, the synapses are not firing correctly. Things are not connecting the way that they should be. And yeah, some of it probably is age. Yeah, sorry, our mental capacities do diminish with age. But also, I'll say Bernie is a little bit older and he wasn't looking like that out there. So let's get to the notes. Oh, early on, I'll also say that I don't like watching debates. It's not fun. It's just, I think that we are in such a serious place in our politics where it just feels inappropriate for our politics to be about spectacle. And it really occurred to me a few times tonight that this is really about ratings, it's about spectacle, it's about eyeballs, it's about somebody trying to get a sound bite so that they can rise in the polls. And like, who even has time for that? I mean, I guess I do, but I don't think that that's in the best interest of our democracy. Um, I will say though, that freaking set was gorgeous. I was like, okay, DNC, they're the people who are responsible for the debates, right? They put money into it. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the opening statements. I thought that, I'm going to do it by the best to the worst opening statements. Bernie was the best. He hit all of the topics, good messaging. I will say one thing that we got to give the Bernie communications team is they know how to package a message. Even if Bernie is yelling it all, okay, with the hoarse, raspy throat, he got those talking points in. Next is Warren. Next is Beto to me. I thought Beto did Beto speaks like he has Barack Obama cadence, and that is very familiar to us who, came of age in the Barack Obama years. It's familiar, it's warm, it's that, fired up and ready to go thing. I definitely think he was trying to push through in the messaging. Next for me was Julian Castro. I like I liked the emphasis on new ideas. Next for me is Kamala. I thought that her choosing to address Donald Trump was definitely different and caught your attention. The only thing is, it just felt a little gimmicky to me. Just wasn't my fave. But I do like, I think Kamala's big her big drawing point, and what people always talk about with Kamala is she'll be the one to take on Trump. She's tough as nails. She'll grill him. Yeah, she probably would. I will never be a Kamala voter, but I will give it to her that in a one-on-one debate setting with Donald Trump, she would demolish him. She's got good presence. She's good with words. It's just that record ain't gonna do it. It's not gonna do it for me. Okay. Next we have Mayor Pete. We're getting to the milquetoast people now. So Pete was okay. Booker was a lesser Obama. Biden, too many notes. How are you're the front runner and you're literally looking down at your notes to get through a 1-minute opening statement? It's not working for him. Yang was very stiff. I also just read an article about how him offering 10 people $1,000 might be illegal. A little gimmicky. I also don't know, toward the end of his opening statement, we could hear somebody cackling. Who was that cackling like that? Was that Klobuchar? Don't do that. He's just, obviously Yang is not used to speaking in front of people. And Klobuchar is always going to be my least favorite. She's just too middle of the road. I'm from the Midwest. Let's all get along. Not in 2020, girl. We're off that. I did not know in the little, Chiron, there was a little note about Joe Biden was a senator at 29. Who knew? I did not know that. I also have Ain't Nobody Trying to Hear Knockoff Obama. I think I wrote that about Cory Booker. Nobody wants to hear Knockoff Obama. I'm sorry. And I wrote about Yang. I don't 100% understand the Yang enthusiasm because it seems like he has one idea. Okay? Now look, I am pro universal basic income. I have no problem giving people money. That's why when people get so upset about welfare, like, oh, you should work, like they're not doing anything with the money. It's like, who cares? I don't care. I don't care what you use the freaking money on. If it stops you from starving, I don't care. But you can't run a whole campaign off of one idea, which he has, which is incredible to me. Okay, so the first topic was healthcare. Obamacare. Let me just say this about Obamacare. I am so thankful as a person who has worked for themselves for almost my entire adult life, all but 6 months of my adult life. I am so thankful that I've had Obamacare, that as soon as I was turned 26 and had to be kicked off my mom's insurance, that I could go to the marketplace. But it is expensive as fuck. And so I get it. We want to big up Barack Obama for expending all of his political capital on ramming Obamacare through. That's a big deal. Sometimes when I hear stories about how healthcare used to work before Obamacare, I literally cannot believe it. It's just crazy to me. So it's a big deal. But Obamacare does not go far enough. It just does not. I'm glad to have it. I'll say a couple of years ago, this is going to be TMI, but a couple of years ago, my colon just stopped working. My colon was like, girl, we're done here. And so I had to go do so many tests, to make sure there's no polyps or tumors in there and so many things. I spent thousands of dollars trying to exclude all of the possible things. Now, it ended up being IBS, but that's a diagnosis of exclusion. I spent thousands of dollars out of pocket. Most people do not have that. So yes, it's great that we have access to healthcare, but it's not affordable. And I live in a state that refuses to expand Medicare because everybody's racist. So if you're or Medicaid is what I should say, because just to spite Barack Obama. So there's people who live just slightly above the poverty line who have no access to healthcare. It makes no sense. So I am not going with, everybody loves their private insurance. No, they fucking don't. Elizabeth Warren is so right. Nobody likes their insurance. You like your doctor. You like the lady who smiles at you at the front desk. Okay. So the attachment that people like Biden have to that. I'm like, no, can't vote for you. But I will say about Warren, like her, but she dodged those questions about who's going to pay for it and how it's going to how Medicare for all is going to be paid for hard. We actually do need to talk about that. And I do think that for a significant number of voters, that's going to be a big thing. But obviously, Bernie by far has the best healthcare plan. By far. By far. No deductibles, no copays. We find the money. Now, I do think a dubious, I don't think that we have, Bernie has adequately laid out how that stuff is going to be paid for. I know the numbers that they're presenting. It doesn't seem feasible. But I'm still for it. You know, like, what are the options? Oh, yeah, your eyes are not deceiving you. I changed my hair. And I think Biden, in his most cogent moment of the night was when he was coming with the facts and figures about the enormous costs of a Medicare for all plan. Still, it's a life or death situation. Still, okay. And again, I think that people who are afraid of Medicare for all or afraid of government-run healthcare, I think primarily it's not about a love for their insurance company. It's really about fear. You know, we're afraid of what comes next. What happens when you don't have to go through Aetna or Cigna or whatever? But that can't be the reason why we stop. I did think early on that Elizabeth Warren, both Warren and Kamala, are smiling too much. And I get it. If you're a woman, you can't even have a hint of disagreeability. I get it. But Kamala laughing hard at her own jokes and Warren just with the plastered smile, like pleasant face, it makes me uncomfortable. Oh, obviously there was a lot of bigging up of Barack Obama because you're at an HBCU. And Barack Obama is pretty well liked. I thought that Kamala tried to differentiate herself by mentioning Donald Trump at every turn. However, I'm in agreement with most of the candidates that Donald Trump, we can't focus everything on Donald Trump because a lot of these problems preceded Donald Trump and they will exist after Donald Trump. So I get what Kamala was trying to do. For me, it is just not an effective strategy. And Biden was just trying so. You could just see how hard he was working and it wasn't. He said at one point, talking about Elizabeth Warren, she's for Bernie, I'm for Barack. And it's like, we get it, bro. You were the vice president, but you're still not. You're not. You're a Pinto, okay? You're an old model. You're an iPhone 7, okay? We've moved on to new technology. I'm not sure how I felt though. You know, as many problems as I have with Joe Biden, I'm not sure how I felt about Julian Castro. I just felt, on one hand, call Biden out, right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He confuses facts. He can't remember what he just said. I get it. On the other hand, it did feel very like a performance. It felt like the things that I hate about American politics and about debates. It just felt like he was looking for a moment. On one hand, we do need somebody to call out Joe Biden. On the other hand, I don't know. It just feels a little too desperate. The next topic was racism. Beto O'Rourke clearly reads the New York Times. Shout out to him. He referenced basically the 1619 Project. But what I'll say about Beto, and it is pronounced Beto, he had some real straight talk about race. You know, he's out here cussing and being very clear about white supremacy, the white supremacy that dominates our politics, being very clear about the need for reparations. And I don't really care if it's pandering. I really don't. Because we can't, it is our responsibility as voters, as the electorate, to, after somebody outlines what their goals are, what their plans are, it is our responsibility to demand that it happens. So, I think that acknowledgement, yeah, like maybe it can feel like pandering, but at the same time, would I prefer you acknowledge it than not acknowledge it? I would prefer you say something about reparations and white supremacy. Yeah, I would. Mayor Pete is terrible, and also he has a really bad record where he's from. Lindsay Davis kind of came for Kamala a little bit. I mean, I shouldn't put it that way. She didn't come for Kamala. She challenged Kamala on her record, and I think one thing Kamala has been consistently bad at is giving real answers for why you thought that way 5 years ago, and now suddenly you're the champion of rights. How'd that happen? People want to know. I just think that she is just inadequately addressing it. And because she's inadequately addressed it, I think I saw an Essence poll a couple of days ago where Kamala is below Biden. I think, yeah, she's above everybody in that Essence poll except for Biden. I think Kamala should be winning black women easily. But is that record? Is the record? Sorry, I can't watch When You See Us on Tuesday and then be pro Kamala on Wednesday. I can't do it. Maybe you can. I can't. I now am no longer, and Kamala said something about private prisons. Recently, I learned that only 8% of the prisons in this country are private. So when people talk about closing private prisons, yes, like let's be for it. We should remove the profit incentives from our prison system. But the vast majority of prisons in this country are publicly owned because our public interests are invested in carcerality. Okay, Klobuchar is absolutely a no for me. Look, if I'm not voting for a black prosecutor, I'm certainly not voting for a white former prosecutor. And I'll say another rare glimpse of light here was Joe Biden was talking very right. He was talking right about the restoration of rights for people who were incarcerated. I think he's the only person who really hit that hard and mentioned it. I appreciated that. The next thing with guns, I am with Beto. Take all the guns. Take them. I mean, he's not pro take all the guns, but I am pro confiscate the AK-47s, confiscate the AR-15s. It's not necessary. I like, being somebody from Texas, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I appreciate that. I thought Klobuchar was right on the magazine limitations. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. But what I really appreciated here was Kamala saying this is not just a semi-automatic weapons problem. We have a gun violence problem in this country. I'll say that I'm consistently dismayed by the fact that we are not talking about the role that guns play in domestic violence. Look, when I hear people saying like, oh, black folks, let's all arm ourselves and let's get guns or whatever, I am anti-gun because of the violence that occurs in homes, in domestic situations. And because I know that black women in particular are, 3 times as likely, 4 times as likely as white women to be shot by an intimate partner, it concerns me when people are just like, black folks, let's all get guns. And I'm like, ooh, Okay, and then we also have the problem of community violence. We have the problem of interpersonal violence. We have the problem of suicide when it comes to gun violence. That's a big deal for me. The immigration, I think that anybody defending Obama's immigration policy is cringe. It's cringy. Biden tried to, and it's like, no. And he tried to be like, well, we didn't cage kids. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure I've seen some images that they didn't do the family separation thing. But Barack Obama is called the deporter in chief for a reason. And yes, DACA, I guess, is great. Maybe I haven't done enough reading on DACA, but I don't know. Just don't try to do that, Joe. Sorry. And this is where I wrote Warren Castro 2020. That's my ticket. Then they went to trade. I'm going to be honest. I'm not even going to fake it. I don't know enough about trade to speak intelligently on it. One of the reasons why I decided not to minor in economics in college is because I couldn't get through the math, couldn't get through the concepts. So I kind of tuned out at this point. I'm not even going to pretend like I know. I agree with Warren that corporations are greedy, and I absolutely believe that we're on the brink of a recession. Absolutely. Save your pennies. Absolutely. Wait to buy a home. I'm I'm trying to wait to buy a home because I believe truly that we are on the brink of a recession and a home price collapse. Okay. Then we got to the military. I like Warren's clarity on war. I do believe that Bernie has consistently been the best on foreign policy. No endless war. I also thought that Mayor Pete was very good and because of his experience, very clear in talking about the consequences of endless war. But Pete is probably is too hawkish for me. And, I like Bernie Sanders talking about how he consistently votes against Donald Trump's military budgets. I think that, that matters. That consistency matters, right? You can't be, I think one thing that an issue that we run into with Democratic presidential candidates a lot is what does your voting record say? We know what you're saying on the stump. We know what you're saying on the debate stage, but what are you voting for? And I think that's where I feel a lot of conflict a lot of times. Let's keep going. Socialism. That question about, you're pro-socialism, so you must be pro-fascist dictator like Nicolas Maduro. Ew, what a nasty, incomprehensible, ridiculous question. Obviously, anybody who pays attention knows that democratic socialism is a different thing from what's happening right now in South America. Everybody knows. It's also different from communism. Everybody knows. It is crazy to me that y'all don't want health care? Y'all don't want a living wage? Like, y'all don't want maternity and paternity leave protections for parents? Leave for caring for your sick family members? Y'all don't want that? Okay, whatever, dude. Then we got to the environment. Beto gave a great answer on the environment. I think that quite a few of the candidates said that we are in an emergency. This is an emergency. Do you have kids? Your kid's gonna be fucked up, okay? There is no time for us to waste on this. I like Elizabeth Warren picking up Jay Inslee's ideas. We have to regulate the shit out of it. The United States is the biggest polluter in the world, or maybe it's China. Anyways, we're one of the biggest polluters in the world. And we need to be responsible for the damage that we're doing, the harm that we're causing, regulate the shit out of it. And also, and talking about regulating the shit out of it, there are also opportunities. There are job opportunities in clean energy. I feel like people are always like, well, what are we going to do about all the coal jobs? What are we going to do? We should not think of it as, all these people are going to be out of work. We should think about all of the opportunities that we are creating, a new economy that is possible to create if we invest in away from carbon emissions and away from fossil fuels. Okay, education. I do think Kamala has some good ideas about raising wages and teacher pay and investing in HBCUs. Of course, I didn't attend one. However, I absolutely think that HBCUs are critical institutions of Black life, so give them money. I agree with one. Look, I'm anti-charter. I'm basically anti-privatizing public goods, and that includes being anti-charter schools. So I am for Warren. Don't use public money and put it in private hands. And also, Castro had a really great point is the data doesn't tell us that charter schools are markedly better than traditional public schools. That's not what the data says. The data is incredibly mixed. So you're just taking that money away for some real dubious outcomes. And the education point was where I was like, ooh, Joe Biden is tired. His mind is tired. That whatever he was saying, kids and the word gap and all of that, which kind of bordered on some weird racial stuff there. He just wasn't, he does not have the stamina to make it through the night. I also wrote Julian Castro was clowning all night. He said, "Oh, I'm going to get my shot. I am not throwing away my shot." Julian Castro. Yeah, and I again appreciated him calling out charter schools as scams. That's all I really had to say about that. Again, if Joe Biden continues to, there's no reason for Joe Biden to be the front runner, but I'm going to go ahead and scoot on over to the comments, answer a couple of comments. Let's see. Ooh, my face popped up the first thing. Okay. Yeah, Lauren says Biden won't last. He said he should have dropped out already. Joe Biden is in the lead. There's no reason to drop out if you're winning, but I don't think that he's going to last. I don't know how the shift is going to happen, but there's no way that he's going to make it. I'm sorry. There's no way you can look at his performances and say, "Oh yeah." I mean, if it's between him and Donald Trump, sure. But other than that, no. Do you think Bernie can beat Trump? Yes, I do. Vote Bernie 2020. Thanks, Awesome09. Bernie 2020, he appeals to the majority of Americans. I do think Bernie could win. I agree with Lauren. Trump 2020 is more likely. I'm not trying to be like nihilistic or fatalistic or whatever. I genuinely believe that Donald Trump is going to win in 2020, just because of voting patterns. It's much more likely if you win the presidency once, it's very likely for you to win it twice. But also, the GOP is well organized and also very, very effective. They're very effective cheaters. So not only are they organized in getting the message and rallying people and having them come out and be fired up and ready to go, they are incredible at disenfranchising Democratic voters. I just think that there are some structural issues there that they're going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible to surmount for Democrats in 2020. That's what I believe. Okay. Do you think businesses or groups should be held responsible for damage done to people, land, natural resources? Absolutely, I do. I think that we should have fines. I think we need regulations. I think we should have lawsuits. But you have to have a political landscape that is amiable to that. And right now, amenable to that. And right now, we don't have one. Okay. The bottom half of the black community is worth less than $1. 75% of the 2.7 trillion we share is owned by the top 10% of the race. Almost all baby boomers. I don't know about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. There is as much class stratification in Black America as there is everywhere else. I am pro Warren. I don't think she did the best tonight, but I am pro Warren. Do you think $1,000 a month is a good idea? I do. And there's been a couple of studies so far. There was just an article about this in the Washington Post. Yeah. And other countries have tried it. Yeah. People need money. They poor. They broke. Okay. They need money. And especially as we're moving into a more automated society where some of the low wage work is going to be automated out of existence, people are going to need money, cash, to live. Otherwise, we about to be another France. Okay, keep fucking around and we get a French Revolution. Joe is so outdated. Yes. There are moderators on this. I've seen a couple of moderators. Are you asking to be one? Any thoughts on Gabbard not being on the debate stage? Hey, Ramendzilla. So I'm pretty sure that in order to qualify to be on the debate stage, you have to have a certain number of donations, like a certain number of supporters, and be polling at a certain percentage. And she didn't meet those requirements. I mean, Marianne Williamson wasn't there either. She's gotten a lot of buzz. I just think, look, I think that the DNC is a fundamentally corrupt organization. You're not gonna get any debates about that from me. But I mean, she didn't meet the requirements. Annie says, Bernie seems enticing to my liberal self, but I'm scared of the socialist narratives that he appears to take. Am I right? What is there? I think the kind of socialism that Bernie is endorsing, he always makes sure, and so does AOC, they always make sure to say this is democratic socialism. What they are talking about, and what I believe firmly in, is we still have elections, we still have, I mean, capitalism ain't going away. It's just not. But we need a society where everybody is taken care of. You guys, we do not have that. I just read an article about children in poverty, and I'm not gonna cry about it, but I just read a heartbreaking article about children who eat 2 meals a week. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. And then you got people like Meghan McCain out here talking, waving the flag, saying we're the best country in the world, and I'm afraid of socialism. Kids are starving. We live in a country where kids are starving. Are you proud of that? Anyways, how do you feel about reparations? I am for it. Do you like Bernie at all? I've said a couple of times that I like Bernie. Okay, I'm going to add you as a moderator. Okay, new moderator. I agree that status quo. Oh, Ramandilla says, thoughts on reparations and what could be implemented. I'm very pro, sorry, I'm crying. I'm very pro reparations. I do think that I have some questions about how it would be implemented. I think that we can learn something from the Native Americans when the blood quantum stuff, it gets real tricky. But I will say that if you're interested in learning more about reparations, because I can't rattle it off the top of my brain, there is an economist named Sandy Darity who has done for years a lot of work. Sandy Darity, he has done a lot of work on thinking through reparations, and I also think an economist named Derek Hamilton also has. So if you would like to know more about their ideas, and that's really like their push has been so instrumental in getting this thing to the forefront. Okay. Medicare for all means exactly that, Medicare for all people. Do you know anything about Warren's past and being super conservative? Do you think she's truly a changed woman? I mean, Elizabeth Warren is from Oklahoma, as am I. It does not surprise me at all that she was a Republican. But I don't know, Republican doesn't necessarily mean super conservative to me. I think the status quo is you register as a Republican. And also, she changed her political affiliation 23 years ago. I don't know, like, if you change, you change. Like, I'm cool I mean, it's not like she just changed last year. Okay, she's been changed for a good 2 decades, so I'm not really worried about if she's bamboozling us or not. I don't understand the comment about kids only eating in schools when the food stamp program is pretty generous. The food stamp program is pretty generous if you qualify, but also it's not pretty generous everywhere. If you look at the way that our entitlements are structured at the state level, it really is state by state. The way that the thresholds and the stuff that you have to meet to qualify, it varies so widely. The amount of money that is distributed to those kinds of entitlements varies so widely from state to state, but also You can be poor and live and technically be above the poverty line. Lots of people technically live above the poverty line and still are poor as fuck. So there's a lot of people who fall into the gap. I love your channel. Thanks, Kenya. Love yours. I don't know. I don't know if you have a channel. Majojo says, how do you feel about Patriot Act on Netflix and Hassan testifying in Congress? Patriot Act is not my jam. Just not for me. I really liked Hassan's Homecoming King. Thought that was great. You know what I think we need? I understand that we invite celebrities to Congress because they get a lot of attention. But you know what we need? Experts. I'll always say expertise still matters, rigor still matters, study still matters. So as much as I appreciate Hassan, who has probably been paid off his student loans, I would love somebody who has actually studied this, or somebody who actually like has student loans. Okay. Wait, there's another one? Okay, Ramanzilla, look, if you pay, then I'll answer. How do you feel about people claiming candidates play into identity politics and that campaigning helps address the needs of people who are affected by identity? How do I feel about people claiming candidates play into identity politics? Well, number one, how many times can we say all politics are identity politics? Donald Trump plays into identity politics every single day. He plays into white male grievance. Okay, the people have a problem with when the people who are airing their grievances are not white. That's when the identity politics claim comes in. And I don't understand the question if that campaigning helps address the needs of people who are affected by identity. I'm not sure what that means, but I will say that identity politics are unnecessarily skewered. They are unnecessarily maligned. We have a history in this country of the needs of a certain population being elevated and being catered to. Right now, that population is rich folks, and primarily rich white people, and just like white men, white people in general. And the idea that like when we are naming the LGBTQ community or the Latinx community, immigrants, black folks, that suddenly it's an issue, I find that to be laughable. That's from The Real Housewives of New York. Okay. Amber says the food stamp program isn't generous. It's structured to be supplemental. Yeah, honestly, if you do some real like looking into it, for the vast majority of people, it is not generous. Okay. Joshi Vlog says the military-industrial complex only wants to steal oil, attack people in other countries. I'm for anyone who wants a more peaceful foreign policy. I agree with you. What did you think about Castro coming for Biden? Was it warranted? Yes, it was warranted. I also feel like everybody's looking for an opportunity. Castro was looking for an opportunity. I believe that somebody is going to choose Julian Castro as their VP because he's just good. He's good. But Joe Biden has so many weak spots in his past, in the policies that he currently supports, in his public presentation. He's at the top of the polls. He is going to get it. People are going to come for him. I have not only answered questions from people who paid. That's not true. Thank you so much, Ramanzilla. I didn't understand the last part of your question, but I appreciate you enormously. I definitely am not only answering questions from people who pay, though. Yang's policies with the 1,000 dividend will bring $36 billion a year into the black community. Yeah, I definitely think that Black folks, poor folks, they will be helped. And the reasoning for giving $1,000 to everyone makes perfect sense to me. Okay. What is the GOP's obsession with communism, socialism? The GOP is stuck like in the Cold War. It's very strange. Oh, I almost sent myself a super chat. Sorry. Um, I does Yang have other policies? Because we never hear about Andrew Yang's other policies. He really hits hard on that UBI. Oh, okay. So Angel Johnson says not a supporter of Biden, but ABC checked the transcript. Castro mischaracterized him. Biden was right. Ooh, yikes. TXYNC says, I believe Sanders Warren or Warren Sanders are a good way to beat Biden. Yeah, I don't believe that they would ever choose each other as VPs, though. I just don't believe it. Yes, girl, get this money. That's funny. Desiree says Democrats take black people for granted. Yeah, but at the same time, we don't really have anywhere else to go. The GOP is full of racists. And yes, the Democratic Party has racism too. Yes, but it's a different kind of racism over there. Okay, it's a different kind. Um, Johnny says, can you please talk about how Pamela Anderson ripped The View host on the whole Julian Assange being a cyber terrorist thing? I love that you guys know that I watch The View. So you know what I like about Pam Anderson? I like that she's not afraid. I think it's just so easy for people to write her off. But anyway, she was on The View. We all know she used to date Julian Assange, and Megan, my father, McCain, was like, he's a cyber terrorist. He's a cyber terrorist. And it's like, sis, calm your shit. I did like that Pam Anderson pushed back. Look, do I think that Julian Assange contributed to Hillary Clinton's defeat? Absolutely. But we can be honest. It's been 3 years. We can be honest. Hillary Clinton was doing some shady shit. I mean, Donald Trump was too. And it would be great if we could have had everybody's shit exposed. But the only reason why there was shady shit to expose is because Hillary Clinton has been engaged in shady shit for decades. Okay. I have taken my allergy medication, but I am going out of town tomorrow, so I gotta go soon. Yeah, Joe keeps stuttering. It's hilarious. Joe is not. He's not on 10. All the cylinders are not firing. And it's unfortunate. I hope that all of the surrogates and advisors are getting good checks, because it would be very embarrassing for me if I were working for Joe Biden. That's just me, though. You have somewhere to go. You haven't even tried the right. I grew up, I was raised by a black Republican. So I'm very familiar, heard all the talking points, been to the rallies. It's not for me. So, yeah. Biden isn't, thanks. How do you feel about Kamala as VP? Sure. I mean, sure. I think Kamala Harris I tweeted this. Kamala Harris is a very impressive woman. If you just read about her, and didn't dig deep, you would be like, wow, that's an impressive lady. And if you just heard her speak, You say, wow, that's an impressive lady. She knows how to carry herself. She knows how to talk. But then when you dig a little deeper, it's like, ooh, you know? um, this is Anita Baker on my t-shirt. I don't know. Amina says, I don't know if the Dems are still sticking with the they go low, we go high route, but they should really just start calling Trump a fascist anytime he mentions radical socialism. I agree. I think we're past the, you know, one of the reasons why there's like half of those candidates that are just not for me is because I don't want to hear no conciliatory shit. I don't want to hear no let's all get along and we're stronger together. That was a Hillary Clinton talking point, right? I don't want to hear that shit. Okay? Okay, we've got a fucking fascist in the White House. And so I think what we do need is for somebody to just be a straight shooter, call it what it is, and one thing that Stacey Abrams talks about a lot is, and she did talk about even in 2018, was we need to be energizing people who would otherwise just stay at home. And the way that you energize people is by not doing the phony political staged politician shit. You know, we want real talk. We want honesty. We want fire. Now, I'm a vote anyway. I'm a voter. Even though I live in a very red state, I'm a voter. But I think a lot of non-voters just need to be energized. Yes, I agree. I've said multiple times that I believe that Trump will get reelected. Calling Joe Biden old ageist? No. First of all, he is old. And he's moving and behaving like a person who is in cognitive decline. Have you ever hung out with old people, grandparents, watch people age? Your mental faculties diminish over time. That's not. That's a fact. So, is it? I do believe that it is appropriate for us to say, not only are you old, but you can't remember a 1-minute opening statement. You're stuttering all over the place. You can't string together a coherent thought. You can't directly answer a question. You're making all of these gaffes. Something ain't right. And this is a man who's been doing politics for a long time. So it seems like the instinct should be there. Something is not right with Joe Biden. And I don't feel the same way about Bernie Sanders. And he's 78. Oh, goodness. What's going on here? The data shows playing into partisanship will increase voter turnout. Yes. The thing is, the scary thing about that for Democrats is we have so many structural obstacles that prevent left voters from coming out, is that an increase in voter turnout doesn't necessarily mean that Democrats will win. Yeah. Right. Democrats can be fired up, but that also means that Republicans will be fired up too. Do you have a P.O. box? I want to send you a book. I don't have a P.O. box, but maybe I'll get one. Ramanzilla says, wow, you're really making it rain. Joe is old, but Bernie is older and he can keep it together. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just different. Joe Biden he needs to retire. He needs to be, and by the way, this is a man who has been in public life for 60 years. Wait, I don't know how to do math. 50 years? A little bit less than that? Go home, you know? I have not chosen my assistant yet. Sorry, I'm still working on it. I also love how Republicans don't want to use a popular vote because they think it will fix all elections in favor of Democrats. Republicans are fundamentally anti-democracy. They are not pro-democracy. They're not pro-individual rights. They're pro-winning. Did you guys see, by the way, did you see this shit that happened in North Carolina? Where on 9/11, the North Carolina GOP, while the Democratic states legislators were at a 9/11 memorial, the GOP voted to override the budget veto. They called an emergency vote and did it intentionally while the Democratic legislators were out commemorating 9/11. They're fundamentally anti-democratic. Let's look at these new super chats. What do you think about the responses provided by the candidates on Venezuela? Look, we still live in a country that is very scared of socialism, big bad socialists. So nobody's going to be pro Maduro. Nobody's going to do it. I've seen some really interesting reports from Venezuela, from Venezuelans, some pro Maduro, some anti Maduro. But the safe thing is to say we're anti-fascism, we're anti-totalitarianism is what the word that I'm looking for. So everybody's going to be anti-Maduro. So shout out to you, Clement Cole. And what is this? How have you seen Trump's autobiography, It Chapter 2? Oh, I don't watch scary movies, so I have not seen it. How do you feel about lowering voter registration age? Oh, girl, I was going to say, what's the age right now? Woo, that was a Biden moment. I don't know. I'd have to read some more about it. I don't know. I can't just make up some shit. I'd have to know more about what the potential harms are. Joshua, love your videos. Love yours. I think that's gonna be my new comeback. Love yours. It doesn't matter if you don't have a YouTube channel. Mayor Pete would have been a great president, but in the 90s. Yeah, Mayor Pete is old school, right? He's another iPhone 7. We're past that. Yeah. Thank you, Janelli. I appreciate it. Uleni says, in the 2016 election, there was massive voter turnout of people who are usually non-voters. So how can we say it's just a matter of getting more voter turnout if that didn't work last time? People who traditionally vote Democratic, like black folks, the voter turnout was like a historic low. I mean, not a historic low, but the lowest that it's been in, 20 years. It was very, very low. So yeah, we do have a voter turnout problem with traditionally Democratic voters. Kim, are you pro Maduro? No. But I am suspicious of the ways that our politicians are anti-Maduro. Merritt says, is Beto's pledge to take their guns going to be a detriment to gun control legislation in the future? What gun control legislation? Do you seriously have hope that there's going to be, without extreme measures being taken, any sort of significant gun control legislation being passed? Do you really believe that? Because I don't. How many kids have died? How many people died just in their homes? So I have no problem with Beto saying this shit has got to stop and we've got to take some drastic measures. I have no problem with that at all. Jay Camacho says Bernie, Stacey 2020. I don't think that Stacey Abrams wants to be in the, where does the vice president, is it the East Wing? No. The first lady is in the East Wing. I don't know. I don't think Stacey Abrams wants to be in the White House. Okay, it's almost time for us to go. Let's do, oops. Let's do, we'll see, 3 more. I'm so glad Tulsi is gone. She is kind of a warmonger. Yes, she kind of is. It seems like Bernie will pick Nina for his VP. I don't think so. I don't think he would do that. The only thing we can take from the Cold War is that Russia was meddling in the election. I don't know what that means. Thank you for hair compliments. I definitely want everyone's college loans to be forgiven if it needs to be done in my, it needs to be done in my lifetime. Yeah, I agree. I think that Yang is the futuristic Republican. I do think that one of the reasons why so many Republicans and right-leaning people like Yang is because he's a intermediate, you know. He's not left-wing. Christia says they voted on e-cigarettes before gun control. The e-cigarettes are Republicans and Democrats' way of saying we kind of care about kids until we need NRA sponsorship. Yeah. And look, you know how against vaping I am. Super against it. However, it is laughable. Laughable. The thousands of deaths that we have, the thousands of gun deaths that we have in this country every month. Are you talking about some e-cigarettes, some flavored e-cigarettes? Get the fuck out of here. Do you think it's pandering when candidates are speaking Spanish to appeal to Latino voters? Honestly, I don't think it's my place to even talk about that. But I think it's a fine line. There's a fine line between speaking someone's language, and by language, I even mean speaking to Black voters in a certain way. There's a fine line between that and talking about their issues and pandering, and I feel like it's a you know it when you see it situation. I don't know. Somebody says, Ty says, can you speak about Priyanka Chopra? I have no idea what's going on with Priyanka Chopra. Okay, my last thing is going to say, do you think a woman candidate can become president? I think a woman candidate can become president. Do I think a Democratic woman can become president in 2020? I don't know. I don't know. I'm leaning toward no. And despite the fact that I am pro Warren, I don't know. I don't know. I've read so many things, and people that I really respect, journalists and political scientists that I really respect, have said for years that they believe that the first woman president is going to be a conservative Republican, like a Nikki Haley, or if Sarah Palin were a little bit smarter, like a Sarah Palin. But I don't know. I think it's going to be really hard to elect a woman Democrat. That's all I'm going to say. It's time for me to go. I need to be up in 4 hours or 5 hours to catch a flight. I gotta go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was fun. Shout out to everybody who dropped a coin. I appreciate you enormously. I'm pressing the button. Bye. Oh, bye.